There was a moment every pupil remembers, when the lively chatter of a classroom dissolved into absolute stillness. It always began the same way: a faint echo in the corridor, a shadow moving across the glass panel, the gentle shuffle of chairs as everyone instinctively straightened. No words were spoken, yet the atmosphere shifted, as if the room itself understood who was approaching. It wasn't fear exactly, nor was it excitement, just a quiet awareness that they had arrived. And somehow, without raising their voice or even stepping fully inside, this teacher could command silence. What gave them such effortless authority? To understand this quiet authority, we have to step back into the British classrooms of the 1950s through the 1980s, where everything followed a familiar rhythm. Days began with morning assemblies that echoed through large halls, rows of pupils standing neatly as sunlight filtered through tall windows. Classrooms were filled with wooden desks, etched with decades of initials, blackboards that left a fine, chalky mist in the air, and the gentle hum of radiators pushing against the cold outside. Respect wasn't just encouraged, it was woven into the fabric of school life. Teachers were figures of certainty, often spoken about at home with a mix of admiration and awe. Back then, lessons moved to a steady beat. Books opened in unison, instructions delivered clearly, and classroom routines followed without debate. Today's schools, with their collaborative discussions and relaxed interactions, feel like a different world entirely. Modern pupils question, explore, and chat freely, a wonderful shift in many ways, yet a sharp contrast to the structured environments that shaped earlier generations. In that older setting, authority didn't rely on raised voices. It lived in the presence of certain teachers, the ones who could restore order with nothing more than a quiet step into the room. The very figure we now turn to. It often began long before the teacher arrived. You'd hear the quiet, rhythmic tap of polished shoes moving down the corridor, growing clearer with each step. Conversations softened, then faded entirely as a familiar shadow passed across the frosted glass panel in the classroom door. Even the air felt different in those seconds, a gentle tightening, as if the building itself paused to listen. When the door finally opened, it did so without haste, revealing a figure whose coat carried the faint scent of the outdoors and whose movements were measured and deliberate. They placed their notebook on the desk with thoughtful precision, opened a drawer with a soft click, and surveyed the room with calm confidence. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, yet every pupil sat upright, alert, and strangely eager to begin. It was presence at its purest, the kind that shaped behavior without a single word. And for many of us, that quiet authority was as unforgettable as any lesson. Once the teacher entered, the classroom seemed to fall into a well-practiced rhythm. There were unwritten rules everyone understood. You sat up straight, you kept your hands still, and you listened the moment instructions began. No one needed to repeat these expectations. They were absorbed almost by osmosis, passed down from older pupils, and reinforced by the steady consistency of school life. A raised hand meant something. A quiet pause meant even more. Back then, silence wasn't empty. It was respectful, almost ceremonial, a sign that the class was ready to work. Contrast that with today's classrooms, where collaboration, conversation, and free expression fill the space with energy and noise. It's a positive evolution in many ways, yet it highlights just how different the atmosphere once was. Those earlier classrooms carried a sense of order that didn't rely on rules written on posters or repeated reminders. It stemmed from the teacher's presence, a subtle message that learning mattered and that every moment was part of something structured and meaningful. What made these teachers truly memorable were the small rituals that linger in our minds decades later. The way they wrote on the board with steady, looping strokes, the chalk occasionally snapping with a crisp sound that echoed through the room. The squeak of floorboards as they paced thoughtfully between desks, the gentle clearing of a throat that signaled it was time to refocus. Even the simple act of opening a paper exercise book felt significant, as if you were stepping into a familiar chapter of school life. Their glances carried messages, encouragement, reassurance, or the quiet reminder to stay on task, all delivered without fuss or fanfare. Lessons flowed with a rhythm that felt almost ceremonial, each part connected to the next with comforting predictability. These moments didn't demand attention, they earned it, and as we look back now, we realize that their calm authority wasn't just about discipline, it shaped us, guided us, and stayed with us long after we left those wooden desks behind. Why did their presence stay with us for life? What stays with us isn't just the silence they commanded, but the stability they brought into our young lives. These teachers were steady anchors in a world that often felt uncertain, offering a sense of order that made school days feel structured and predictable. Their authority wasn't about sternness, it was about guiding us with a quiet confidence that encouraged respect without ever needing raised voices. Looking back, we realize how much reassurance lived in their calm presence, a belief that someone steady and capable was steering the room. Today's classrooms feel brighter, more relaxed, and wonderfully expressive. Yet there was something deeply human in the old way, that blend of admiration, slight nervousness, and the unspoken understanding that they genuinely wanted us to do well. Their influence shaped how we listened, how we behaved, and how we learned. And that's why their presence never truly leaves us. Classrooms today move with a different rhythm, more flexible, more expressive, and shaped around emotional well-being in ways earlier generations could scarcely imagine. Pupils speak more freely, choices are wider, and learning feels collaborative rather than tightly structured. Yet something from those earlier days still lives within us: the shared stories, the quiet lessons in respect, and the small moments of order that shaped our character. Those memories have a way of resurfacing when we least expect them, and so we ask, what childhood classroom moment do you still remember? Before you go, if these memories made you smile today, then hit the white subscribe button and stay with us. We are rebuilding a little corner on YouTube where the old Britain still lives, and you re-welcome here anytime. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.